Hi everyone, it's Lisa here at the Paris Bourbon County Library. Today I have a craft that's going to be super easy for you to make with items that you probably already have at home. Today we're going to be making DIY coasters. So I'm going to readjust our camera so you can get a little closer look, and I hope you'll enjoy this craft. Okay, this is a much better camera angle. That way you can see what I'm actually doing here and discussing. The first thing I'd like to do before we get into our DIY coasters is to give you a list of the supplies that you could possibly need for this craft. Think about tiles that you have at home. These were from my mother's house, and these are also very durable, and you can decoupage on them and create your coasters. Other forms of coasters as well could be a piece of wooden square. I bought these from Amazon. They're just very thin, but very much an easy DIY coaster. Other things that you will need are some kind of cork for the back. Now this cork peels and it easily sticks to the back of your coaster. So I think this was a really good purchase, but you will need some cork to protect your surface and be absorbent. You will need Mod Podge. This is a this particular one is a high gloss. I kind of like the gloss on here. You can buy the matte finish as well. Along with that, we're going to need a foam brush and a container. We will also need a pair of scissors and something to draw our patterns with. And I believe that's it. Now you'll notice for mine, I also had the jar lids and the jar rings, which you could also use. So first off, before we get started, let's kind of look at this. I have taken a tile. It happened to be one of the off-white tiles. I have used, oh, excuse me, one thing I did forget. I like to use the scrapbooking paper. And so you'll see that I ordered one that has all kinds of plaids in it. I think those look great. You'll also notice that I've got one that's got all kinds of different, almost, this one is typeset, but you'll see there's some really nice patterns to choose from there. Here's some on the bottom. This is all scrapbooking paper. It's amazing what you can get in scrapbook paper now. They are so pretty. And then I've got this one as well. And you'll see that it has some decorative paper in it as well. So if you're ever out and you have an opportunity to pick up some of the scrapbook paper, please do so, because you can use it for many, many projects. Okay, now let's get back to our coasters. On this one, again, I mentioned I used the tile, I used the the cork square on the back, and I used my Mod Podge. And this couldn't be a simpler task. On this one, you'll notice I put my square of cork on the back, and on the front, you'll notice I used the decorative scrapbooking paper. I'm having trouble thinking today. So we're going to just look at some of the other ones. This one I have just painted the jar lid and the jar ring. I have hot glued the ring inside of the lid. I cut out a circle of my cork and I put it in the center there, and these make really great little coasters. On this one I used a letter stencil that I had, and that is actually a Sharpie in the center there. And then on this one, again, I took my jar lid and glued it inside of my jar ring, but prior to doing that I actually Mod Podged the center in this decorative flannel pattern that we've got here. Now I'm going to show you today how to make this one. So I'm going to put the other ones over to the side. And I've gotten my wooden square here. And before I put the cork on the back, I'm simply going to choose one of my scrapbook papers. I like the sheet music, so I think we'll use the sheet music for this one. And all I'm simply going to do on the reverse side of this is I'm going to take my coaster. I like to conserve paper, so we're going to line that up in the corner there. I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to mark two sides. with my scissors. I'm going to cut that. And there's still plenty left of this paper to use on numerous projects. So save it. We save everything here. And there's our piece of sheet music. I think that looks really good. And it's very simple. I'm going to use my Mod Podge. I don't really need a lot for this, but you can, if you're doing more than one, obviously, go ahead, pour that out and get your supplies ready. I'm going to take my foam brush and load it up with the Mod Podge. Now, if you do not have Mod Podge at home, you can use a watered down glue mixture. I would use probably, I wouldn't do half and half. I might use 2/3 of the Mod Podge and 1/3 of water. Just water it down just a little bit. So if you do not have Mod Podge and you have no place to get that, then you can use a white glue mixture. On top of this, I'm simply going to line up my sheet music. Now before I start actually Mod Podging on top of this to get that shiny effect, the protectant on the top, I'm going to turn it over and make sure that I've got it lined up correctly. And right here, it looks like I might need to trim just a little bit off. It looks like I cut a little bit crooked. So I just want to trim it up as close as I can. I do want to make sure I'm Mod Podged entirely. As a matter of fact, if you'll notice right here, that's coming up a little bit. I really do not want that to happen. Looks like the other corners are down securely. Now Mod Podge dries pretty quickly. Okay, so now I know it's glued down on there with the Mod Podge completely. So all I'm going to simply do is take more of my Mod Podge and I'm going to cover generously. I only needed one coat. I'm making sure I get along my edges in a moment. We'll make sure we do that. The reason I didn't put the cork on yet is that I just do not want the Mod Podge to get on the cork. To keep it dry. So what I'm going to do is wipe off just a little bit of my excess on the Mod Podge, and I'm going to go right along the edge. Now what that is going to do, it's going to seal it to keep it from separating, although we do have quite a good coat of Mod Podge underneath of our scrapbook paper. But this is just going to seal that space between the wood, if there are any, and your scrapbook paper. Photographs are wonderful for this. I would get a copy of it, a copy of your photograph, and you could do the same process with it. These would make great little Christmas gifts. Okay, so I've sealed all the way around it. Now I'm just going to go back and clean up some of my streaks. This will dry clear. And there we go. Now this will dry clear, as I mentioned. In the meantime, After this dries, we do not have enough time for it to dry for me to finish this demonstration, but after this dries, all you simply will do, I want to make sure this is exactly the same size. And it is just a tiny bit bigger. So I'm going to cut this down just a little bit so that it goes exactly on the back of our finished coaster. I'm going to cut two sides of it and it should fit perfectly on the bottom. I'm taking off just a little bit. And I'm going to remove my backing. Now cork comes in different depths, I want to say. I'm not sure that's the correct word, but this one's very thin. The cork used for this is very thick. As a matter of fact, I would have preferred the thin over the thick, but didn't have it with me at that time, so I just used the thick here. So I'm going to try to, without making a big mess here, I'm going to go ahead and put my cork on the back of here. You can see how quickly that is already drying on there. And there you go. And that is not going anywhere. That is going to stay put. It will be absorbent. It will also keep from scratching any of the surfaces that you put this down on. This could not be easier. This is just a really fun little craft. You can buy the wood pieces on Amazon, but you can also get those at places like Hobby Lobby or Michael's. I'm not sure they have this size at your local Walmart, but it's worth a look-see to see if they do have those. And then again, these cork strips, they can come in big sheets, and you could actually hot glue those on the back of your wood template or your tile template. But I found that if you buy them this way, you've got the adhesive on the back. It's probably just a little bit easier, and they're already pre-cut to the coaster size as well. So let me put our products back out here and let you look at those. And just think about ways. By the way, I wanted to mention I Mod Podged that on the lid itself before I hot glued it on here. So just to let you know, that was just a little bit easier to Mod Podge in there first, and then to seal it in the jar lid. These are so simple. They're super easy. They make great make great gifts, excuse me. I'll help you think about making some of our DIY coasters. And if you do, please post them to our Facebook website so that we can see what you're doing and we can share those as well. I hope you've enjoyed this craft and keep crafting.